And we are back yet again from another long holiday break. This is the Dynasty Dumpster Fire podcast with your hosts, Tanner or TK and Mr. Marty D. Marty, I hope you had a great holiday season and ready to get back into it.
I did. Hopefully you enjoyed the snow that followed it. This here in our area, it was quite snowy.
Yeah, we got a couple of snowstorms this week. So, yeah, it was kind of nice, change of pace. But, yeah, we were on a little bit of a break because of the holiday season, um, various things, travel and that nature. So, we are back. We're going to try to, again, get as back as regular as we can. I know I say this all the time, but, um, periodically, especially during the off season, at least once a show every week or two should be doable for us as we kind of transition from the Dynasty regular season or the NFL regular season to the offseason and head towards our rookie draft. So, in the spirit of rookies, we thought that it'd be a good idea today to redraft the 2024 rookie class now that we've had a full season of data and gameplay in order to figure out kind of where these players should be comparatively to when we drafted them in April and May, based purely on speculation and draft placement. So, before we get started on that, Marty, what are your thoughts real quick on the 2024 class?
I enjoyed what I saw, especially for the non-quarterback positions. Um, I do think there were some nice gems that came out from the class. Looking at Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels as two of my favorites from that class as well. But also, it was very impressive to see the wide receivers that really emerged. Like Lad McConkey, Brian Thomas, and Malik Neighbors. I mean, it was awesome. Like you had a good powerhouse stack, and then you saw Brock Bowers just eating it up. Like overall, like I was very impressed. The only thing I was disappointed in was the running backs. I found them to be lackluster. Only one name really stood out to me, and that's for me was just Bucky Irving. Many of the other players had nice little hot runs, but nothing that really made me be like, "Whoa, they're gonna be a monster next year."
Yeah, running back was disappointing, but everything else hit. I mean, this was the best class that I can remember in recent years. Definitely since we've been playing Dynasty, but
Hmm.
um, as far back as I can think, I can't remember this many players that I anticipate jumping right into the top 3 rounds next year of Dynasty startups. So, the way we're going to do this, guys, if you want to check out the YouTube video for the visual, we're going to have the draft board on the screen. But the idea is that we're just going to go probably through one round, maybe a couple of extra picks depending on time. And we're going to redraft the rookies again, like I said, based on their performance this past season. So we're going to alternate pick for pick, give a little bit of feedback or reasoning to why we picked each of the players where we did comparatively, and then we will again try to finish off after about a round or so. We flipped a coin. Marty got the first pick, so he's actually going to start with the 101. We may reference one of our leagues, common leagues, rookie draft from last season to kind of see where their draft position changed based on that. But we're going to, again, stick to default settings, 12-team Superflex, PPR, we'll say 1.75 tight end premium. And on the clock with the 101, Marty, you have the floor, sir.
Sounds good. Let's get this thing started.
Might want to turn off the sound.
Mm-mm-mm.
Sorry, I forgot about that too.
So for my first pick, I'm gonna go with Jaden Daniels. Merely for the format we're in and how valuable the quarterback position, but also just I was immensely impressed with what he could do with his legs and his arm. It is very Lamar Jackson, but it was different.
Especially, yeah, he had a great rookie season. And real quick, before I give you my take on that, go ahead and pause you might just have to pause after every pick because it's stuck on a minute and I just don't want it to auto draft. But while you're doing that, yeah, Jaden Daniels um, kind of came out of nowhere. And the thing that strikes or kind of stuck out to me was just the fact that, again, like you said, didn't quite reach that 1,000-yard rushing mark, but 900 rushing yards and 6 rushing touchdowns from a rookie quarterback while also having pretty decent passing numbers, 3,500 passing yards, 25 TDs up to only 9 interceptions. Um, he's definitely a fantasy monster and also definitely the quarterback one of the class, which I know you are pleased to see given that he's a home your personal team's new
You're
quarterback of the
damn right,
future.
dude. Damn right.
But definitely a great pick by the Commanders, a great pick by anybody that got him anywhere in the mid first. In this draft that we did, he went at the 104, and I regretfully picked at the 102. And then if knowing what I would have known now, he would have been my pick there. But I assume he would have went 101 as well. So great pick there.
All right, let me resume this for you.
No, well, I mean, you can do it while it's paused, I think, because it'll still, yeah. So let me, so who I'm going to pick at the 102, the spot. This one's tricky because this is where it gets a little bit more of a cluster. So there's a cluster of about 3 guys here that I think you could take, maybe 2. And it depends on, it would maybe depend on team need. But since this is a a tight end premium league, I think at the 102, you have to take Brock Bowers. And based on what Brock Bowers did his rookie season, I mean, in this league, he was far in between or far and wide the tight end one based on every metric. Broke the the target and reception record from what I understood. Almost had 1,200 yards as a tight end, 5 touchdowns. Scoring wise in this league, he had he was up there with the best of the best running backs and receivers. And I think at the 102, Brock Bowers is a solid pick, and he didn't go until the end of the first round in a lot of these drafts. So the 108 in the offseason. So that value, he was a smash. And I think at the 102 in a tight end premium, Brock Bowers would be my pick. What do you think of Bowers?
Love it. I got no complaints, especially with the tight end premium upside. If this wasn't tight end premium, I probably would have picked him after the 104. That's just my take. I think he's valuable. But just like any tight end, they can have hot and cold seasons. But he really did impress, so I'm going to give him that. It's also he does play for the Raiders right now, so that's the other part. So I mean, there's nobody else on the team. I mean, what does he get? You got Myers.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
we
but
don't even know the quarterback or coach, but
mm,
18 points a game, man, as a tight end.
solid.
Nothing to scoff at. So we'll pass it to you now at the 103. I think I know where you probably are going, but you may surprise me. Tell me what you're thinking.
Alrighty, so with the 103, my approach to this one was a little different. I was looking at both the quarterback and the receiver, but I'm kind of gonna go with Malik Neighbors. Um, I really enjoyed what I saw him do, even without a quarterback. And I enjoyed that. I thought that was pretty awesome that he's able to maintain a consistent performance. He was able to rack up points for many of this fantasy, owners. Overall, I mean, anybody who had him seemed to do very well weekly, and I'm sure that's going to continue for years to come, especially if they get a quarterback.
Yeah, that's the impressive thing to me is who his quarterbacks were. While he was able to put up the season that he put up. So I believe he was wide receiver 5 in PPR on the season, if I remember correctly, somewhere around there. 18.4 points per game, 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns with Tommy DeVito, Daniel Jones, and Drew Lock throwing you the ball. Neighbors is a certified stud, and again, I think that he will be for years to come. And let's just hope the Giants address the quarterback in the offseason to see what he really can do.
I mean, he's a much improved and enhanced version of Odell Beckham. It's scary.
Let's just hope he has more longevity. But yeah, I think he was a steal where he was going in drafts. 106 in this draft. I think that was a little late. I usually saw him at 3 or 4. So he basically kept his ADP the entire time, and that's only because of how strong this class was. The interesting thing about this class is I think all 3 of the guys and some of the ones we're going to talk about now in a second would be the 101 in this upcoming class. No questions asked. Even over Ashton Genty, I would take all 3 of these guys. I don't know if you feel the same way.
No, I got no complaints. I mean, we'll see what this upcoming draft has to hold. I mean, I really have nothing against it. It's at the end of the day, it's all speculation. We really don't know until the season is over. But yes, I like the value where people were able to get them, and I do think they do stack pretty high right now based off their production.
Okay, so moving on at the 104, I'm going to take And thanks for driving the ship here, buddy. I appreciate it. I turned my sound off. I think that could have been part of it. Sorry for the sound in the background, guys. But at
No,
the
you're
104,
all
I'm going to
good.
take Brian Thomas Jr.
Nope, not bad.
Um,
Not bad.
he was probably the most impressive rookie to me, um, outside of Brock Bowers and at some type of receiving position, just because of kind of where he came from, kind of out of nowhere. He was a late first round guy in every draft that I saw. In fact, I got him. I think he actually went at the 112 in both of our common drafts that we have, which I think was a great value. I just think people maybe kind of overlooked him because of the fact that he played with Malik Neighbors, the fact that he was not drafted to a spotlight or a team that is usually big into the spotlight and had a lot of high hopes. But again, a stat line with almost 1,300 yards, I believe was the wide receiver 3 or 4 on the season, 10 touchdowns. He was a monster, especially in the final games of the regular season in terms of his scoring. He just went out and had a great showing overall. So my pick would definitely be Brian Thomas Jr. And I think with a new coach, with Trevor Lawrence coming back from injury, and with the weapons that team should hopefully be able to kind of accrue around him and build around him, I think Brian Thomas Jr. at 22 years old is a great wide receiver 1 or 2 for the next 5 to 10 years at least.
No, I'm with you there. I mean, it's very impressive to see what the LSU class was able to produce. It's once again another remarkable feat of their program. I mean, it reminds me of the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was who was the second player? Was Justin Jefferson, right?
Yeah, Chase was a top 5 pick, I believe, and I think Jefferson was either the late first or early second round. But yeah, they were kind of the same actually.
It's the same bundle sort of effect, and now they're like big studs in the league. So it's promising. Like having this a piece of any of that seems to be, if you're looking at the upside, it looks pretty valuable.
Yep. So far, again, all of these guys I think would be the 101 in a lot of classes, knowing what we know now. So what do you think at the 105? This is where it gets interesting, in my opinion.
I need a second to be honest.
No worries. While you're doing that, guys, just as a reminder, I know we're a little bit flighty in terms of how much we upload, but again, any kind of support would be appreciated. Like the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, subscribe on YouTube. All of those things are much appreciated, and I do appreciate you guys checking us out. Anybody who's willing to do that. So, what are you thinking at the 105, Marty?
So at the 105, I'm thinking based off what we've seen in production, I have to go with Lad McConkey.
Mm.
Um, for just what he could have, what he's able to do in the wide receiver room. It wasn't very strong to begin with, but the quarterback was missing that one piece, that one weapon, and you know he has it now. Lad is available. He's doing his job. He's making himself open when his quarterback needs it, and he's putting up points. And finishing where he did in the season, and from where people drafted him, I thought he was just like Brian Thomas, a very um, reasonably placed in draft, player. And I think he helped a lot of teams this year. But for me, as an owner, I'm a little biased. I just was very impressed with his consistency.
Yeah, he's the biggest riser in my opinion, just because of where he was drafted in the rookie drafts. I saw him go anywhere from the late first to the mid second. Um, Grabbing him at like the to
He
early
finished
second
as
is
the
a
wide
great
receiver
deal.
13, by the way.
Yeah, with a run first offense.
He did.
I think his situation really helped him,
Seven
uh, and
touchdowns.
and yeah, he had a great season as well, and hopefully he gets a chance to shine in the playoffs today. But
Yes,
the
you're right.
thing that impressed me the most about him is that, or the thing that maybe made this make sense as to why he was maybe so overlooked, is just because of the fact that he played with Brock
Brock.
Bowers in
Mhm.
college. Um, and that you might have not noticed him as much, but man, what I saw every time I watched him play, outside of a few small injury problems that I saw, and all of them got injured in some point of the season, he was great. And I do like him being tied to Justin Herbert. And whether he stays the wide receiver 1 or whether they bring in somebody to complement him, I think either scenario, you're happy that you have him. Um, and have a valuable piece moving forward with Ladd McConkey. But yeah, he impressed me quite a bit as well, and I think he fits in pretty well here at the 105.
He reminds me of a much more improved Hunter Renfro.
Is that because he's white?
No,
Just kidding.
no.
Hunter Renfro was nice for like a year. I remember that. It was like that year he was a
Yeah,
dog, and then he just kind of.
nothing about what.
I know. I'm
No,
just kidding.
just the pass down. All right,
Sorry, I caught you off guard there.
you did.
Um,
Pick your player.
106. I'm gonna go with. This is where I think.
This is where it gets hard.
This is where I think you can go one of two ways. Well, one of three ways. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go with the. I'm gonna go with the quarterback here, being a super flex.
Okay, fair.
Being a super flex draft. I just think you have to decide which one. And I'm gonna stick to my guns here, and I'm gonna pick Caleb Williams.
Oh.
And that's for a couple reasons. Number one, he had a lot to work on this season, but he also was the quarterback 16 in a pretty bad season. And what that tells me is that he has a lot of fantasy upside. Now, whether you believe he's a good quarterback or not, whether you believe he's overrated or not, he has fantasy upside, and that comes from that kind of sneaky rushing floor that he had with almost 500 rushing yards this season. Had a great touchdown to interception ratio, did not throw a lot of interceptions. I think what held him back was the fact that he played for the Bears, the fact that his coaching was poor, the fact that his line was bottom 3 to bottom 5, I believe, in the entire league. He was getting sacked constantly. And I think that with a new coaching change and with the outlook that he hopefully has moving forward in Chicago, I think Caleb Williams is still a great asset to have. And I'm still a believer in him long term in terms of being able to be that low end quarterback one for your fantasy roster. So I don't know how you feel about Caleb Williams, but I think he's great here at the 106. But he was the consensus 101 or 2 in the offseason. So what do you think about Caleb?
Stats are great, but you have to win games, and that's the reality to it. Dynasty aside, you have to win games. I mean, they saw what we did. We saw what the organization did with Justin Fields. So what's to say that they don't do it with Caleb Williams? I mean, there's so much movement, so much speculation with that franchise. It does concern me, but I hope he does well. I really do. I mean, he has a great college career, and hopefully he'll have a great professional career. But the bottom line is, you got to win games. You really do. Like, they came into this, season with so much hype, so much expectation, and they really underperformed.
Yeah, and where I think he differs from somebody like Fields is just the level of prospect that he was. He's not the same. He's not the same. They don't have the same investment into him as they did Fields. I believe they took Fields in the mid first, which I know is still an important pick. But you also got to remember Fields got 4 years, I think, to
Yeah.
figure it out. So I think that the fact that they gave him that leash and the fact that I believe that he showed more as a passer and showed more, even with the ability, I think they finished with 5 wins. I know that's an underperformance, but I just think that I think he's still a solid asset to have. And I'm happy to have him again in any super flex league that I got him in. And I have a feeling that with the right coaching hire, um, it would be also full speed ahead next season, but we've got to see who they bring in at coach. So what are you thinking at the 107 here, my friend?
Alrighty, so with the 107, I'm actually going the different direction the way I thought you were going to go. I was going to go with Bo Nix, just merely based off production and performance in his season. I was very impressed. I really did not anticipate that he would perform as well as he did. I don't know where he finished rank
7.
wise, 7, but he made his. I mean, he helped his franchise make it to the playoffs. Man, like, that was impressive. Very impressive.
And I'm looking at his page. I'm trying to figure out where his points came from, and a lot of it was rushing. I mean, he had less rushing yards than Caleb, so he wasn't a huge rusher, but he has that ability. But I mean, he threw a lot of touchdowns, man. The last 4 games, 3-2, 3-4. I think he just fits in perfectly with Sean Payton.
Almost
And I think
4,000 yards too.
exactly, and I think grabbing him at the late first, man, if you were able to get him at the late first, that is a great thing to have done for your quarterback room in a super flex. So Bo Nix would have been my pick. I just went with Caleb strictly because of the prospect level that he was, but I do
Bias.
not fault anybody for taking I do not fault anybody for taking Nix over him for sure. And
All
I
right, who you taking at the 108?
the 108, I think there's two different ways you could go here. Um, Actually, three with the sleeper pick here. I'm gonna grab Drake May here. Um, for a couple reasons. Again, the fact that it's a super flex, the fact that I think he looked decent at times. You got to remember he missed the first 5 games of the year. Also, didn't play week 18. So to be able to come out, throw for 2,200 yards, 15 touchdowns to 10 interceptions when his number one weapon was who Pop Douglas or uh, Kendrick
Demario
Bourne,
Douglas.
yeah, and whoever, man, they were terrible as a team. And I think that if they make the right coaching hire, similar to Caleb Williams, if they bring in some weapons around him, I do see that they're projected to draft. I've seen a couple mocks where they take Tet McMillan, the receiver out of Arizona, who's projected to go top 10. That would be really nice. And he also possesses the rushing upside. I don't know if you knew this. He almost had 500 yards only playing 12 games. So Drake May would be my pick here. I like Drake May a lot. He's going right around where he went in the beginning of the season. And I think you're not mad if you took him at the 106, 107, or 108. So, what are your thoughts on May from what you saw from his rookie year?
I enjoyed it. I really did. He's going to be the quarterback of the franchise. He's done enough in their really poor season, and I think he will have another opportunity to do it again. Hopefully, with the right changes, he can improve, like we said about Caleb. But overall, he needs some new weapons. He really does. So hopefully, they can make some trades. They have a lot of cap space, and we'll see what happens this offseason.
Yep, and they do have an early pick, and
Mm-hmm.
I would be shocked if they didn't address either the line or the receiver position with
Mm-hmm.
that pick. So, moving on to the kind of the later part of the first round, 109.
So with the 109, I'm going with Bucky Irving. So he did what we all speculated he would do, but he really took the job, and he's going to be the clear RB1 coming into the new season. He was picked very late in many of our mock drafts, and just looking at the ADP, he wasn't somebody that people had their eye on. In my opinion, I think he was one of the sleepers of the league. For where you were picking him, especially in the third round. I mean,
Third
that's
or fourth
that's
sometimes.
exceptional.
Yeah.
But overall, I see him producing for a couple seasons. You really want a running back that's young. They're going to run them in the ground, but at least you'll get some points out of them.
Yeah, I see him in a similar vein to Chase Brown this year in terms of low draft capital, really performed
Yes.
a little uncertain, but should have at least another year of future. Somebody like Isaiah Pacheco was a couple years ago, where everybody thought he came out of nowhere, had bad draft capital, but has stuck around.
This is like Kyron Williams.
That's another great example. Yeah, it's just like those guys that you don't think that people say won't stick around. Bucky Irving showed me enough and was basically a league winner in the fantasy playoffs, in
Yes.
my opinion,
Yes.
in order to have longevity. And he is the only running back that I feel great about having out of this class. And he was picked basically as a dart throw at the end of the third or fourth. So I like
Hmm.
Bucky Irving, 13 RB 13, 1,100 yards, 8 TDs, almost 400 receiving yards, almost 50 receptions. And I like that offense too. I'm a big fan of Baker and that offense as well as what they're doing.
Yes. Yes.
Um, so at the 110, Bucky was kind of what I was thinking. So you kind of
Whoopsies.
sniped me there, but I think that there's another obvious pick here.
You're gonna take quarterback.
I'm going to take Michael Penix.
Of course you are.
I'm going to take Michael Penix, and I'm going to tell you why.
Speculation.
Because of the fact that he where you drafted him, okay, he was a smash, and I wish I would have taken more of him. I have him in, I believe, one league. And I picked him at the beginning of the second, just hoping that he might start in 2026. And here we are in 2024. We saw some starts from him. Didn't look bad, especially in that last game where he almost had 30 fantasy points with 312 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think it was like 26 or 27. And the fact that he has the draft capital, was a top 10 pick. He's part of an offense that you want pieces of with Bijan Robinson and with Kyle Pitts and with Drake London that we saw him have success with at the end of the season. And the fact that they were willing to bench Kirk Cousins, who was their $100 million quarterback, who they paid a lot of money and put a lot of assets into to give Penix a chance, shows me that he's their quarterback of the future. And as long as he doesn't come out and completely tank and stink it up next year, I think that he will get a season or will get multiple seasons to play that role. So how do you feel about Penix in terms of an asset in Dynasty?
Concerned because of his injury ridden collegiate career.
Fair.
I really don't have a lot of faith in him. I mean, we know injuries are gonna, regardless of the mindset or the personality or whatever you want to say. Unfortunately, it's football and it's a contact sport, and things will happen. So for me, I don't like his value. I think it's very fake. I think it's a very risky investment, but it has a very high upside. So if it works out great and his O line protects him, then he's going to be successful. But if his O line is trash and he takes as many hits as Caleb Williams, I don't think he's going to survive.
And I'll tell you another thing also, he doesn't run. So that's
No,
where he's different. He
he's in the
just doesn't.
pocket.
He never did it in college, but he has a great arm. But he doesn't bring that rushing upside. So that's why he's definitely the last out of these quarterbacks, in my opinion. Just because of that lack of rushing upside. Does have an injury history, is older, right? Will be
Yes.
25 next season as a sophomore. So
But Bo
um,
Nix is old too. But I mean, age is one thing. It's just he's had an injury every single year he was in college. So
and Bo Nix clearly ahead because of the rushing upside too. But yeah, that's where I'm at as well. So last two picks here. If you're good with just going through 112, we'll just go through the first
good.
round. There are two or three guys that I kind of like here.
All right. So
Um,
let me pick my player here. We'll wrap it up.
oh, I'm sorry, I skipped you, dude. Go ahead. My
No,
apologies. I'm totally
I
sitting there
was taking
talking.
my
Yeah, no, I'm at 112. Who are you going with at 111?
I feel like we saw enough, but
I'll tell you, or I'll tell you if it's the same guy. I won't tell you who, but I'll tell you if this is who I would have picked there once you tell me.
so I'm gonna take Roman Dunze. So I like what we saw. It wasn't exceptional, but we DJ Moore is older, so he'll be there for throughout his finish his contract. I don't see him being traded, but I do like the development of Odunze behind an alpha receiver. I think it benefits him in the long run. There was no other clear wide receiver ones after Lad McConkey, in my opinion. I think everybody else is a wide receiver two and less than, but at least you can have some aspiration that there can be something greater. So that's why I picked Rome, but that's just my take on him. And I also like the connection he has with Caleb as well.
Yeah, didn't have a great season. 700 yards, 3 touchdowns. You just hope that he takes a big step next year with the departure of Keenan, and with the development of Caleb and with the new coach. But I like him there. And you know what's just kind of insane is that when you said receiver, I forgot about this guy who I have to take at the 112. It's just not even who I was thinking of. You got to take Marvin Harrison at the 112 here. And I cannot believe that he's this far down.
I'm not a
Um,
fan of him. Like
I
I
did
know
not
he has.
like.
I think I don't know.
I did not love it this season either, and I don't know why. Analytically, if you look at like his PFF grade and things like that, like he was okay. I think he was in like the 70s. Um, but wide receiver 30, playing every game, only having one player basically as competition. I don't know what the deal with him was. I couldn't quite point it out. I mean, he broke 100 yards twice. Had a couple of big, 1-2 touchdown game where everybody thought he was going to go crazy, and then
I think it's the
um,
quarterback, to be honest. I like Kyler, but I don't think he's the right guy for this Marv Harrison Jr. I mean, I think he needs a certain type of quarterback that needs to connect with the deep passes.
Yeah, Kyler is I like Kyler as a quarterback. You're right. I do not think they're a good fit together. And how they were using him too, they were basically using him as like an X receiver up the sideline, like, and that's just not generally, I believe, how Kyler plays. Which is why we saw the success of
Trey McBride,
McBride
because he works for him.
in the middle and short yardage and things like that. So yeah, Marvin Harrison at the 112. Some of you may roast us. If you throw him on the board, that way I have my thumbnail. That would be great. Thanks. You may roast us for putting him at the 112, but that just shows you how good this class was. I mean, I cannot believe that the entire first round hit, 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 and then even the last two or three guys have the upside to be hits. So, just for the sake of fun, let's do two more picks and then we'll wrap it up. Let's just do the first two picks of the second round and we'll call it a day. We can be quick here.
Alrighty, so
Just for fun, because this is where it really drops off.
all right, so there's two players that I really enjoy. However, I get little, I'd second guess myself with the ones from Kansas. So I like Xavier Worthy, but I worry because there's a lot of weapons in that, offense. I know a lot of players are going to be departing after this offseason, but at the same token, Rashid Rice comes back. Will Worthy have this, the value that he has this year? I really don't know. But the player that I really like the most is following that is McCarthy because I like just all the speculation of what's going to happen to him, how he's ranking up. No one really knows what's going to happen, but I think it's going to be fun to see if he goes somewhere. I mean, in Dynasty, the goal is to get excited over silly rumors and trade gossip. I mean, why not take a gamble with somebody that really isn't yet proven themselves, but has the value and capital to be worthy of that chance?
Yeah, JJ McCarthy, I forgot about him too. And if he would have played and had a decent season, I mean, again, how deep this class is. He'll start next year. Now, we don't know if it'll be with the Vikings. I mean, I've seen rumors of teams trying to see if he's available via trade if the Vikings decide to stay with Sam Darnold because of the success he's had. Either way, high draft capital, good situation. And I know it was only one preseason game, but you saw his first preseason game. He looked good, in my
He
opinion.
looked amazing.
He actually looked the best of all the rookies that first week or that game that he played. So yeah, just as to close this out here, get going with our playoff Saturday. My last pick here, I'm between two guys. Honorable mentions, I'm not going to pick them though. I think would be guys like Keon Coleman, Tyron Tracy. But who I'm actually going to go with here is I'm going to go with Jalen McMillan, just because of what we saw the last 5 or 6 games of the season. His connection, I know it was on the backs of touchdowns. I'll give him that, but his connection with Baker was really nice. No less than 4 receptions every game. Hit that 50 to 60 to 70 yard mark and caught a lot of touchdowns. I know this is more of a flyer. I just like what I saw at the right time. And I think at this point, it's where it drops off. You would rather have Tyrone. I don't in the Giants with his draft capital. You may rather have Keon Coleman. I just feel like I saw more from McMillan personally. So that's where I would end it here at the 2-2.
I agree with you there. Mike Evans eventually is going to leave, and McMillan has proven his worth, and we don't even know if Godwin's staying.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, who knows? Evans, I think they signed through next season or the season after, but I don't think Godwin stays with that team. So I do think that that's a good thing here. And then just to talk about some fallers real quick, and then we'll cut it off. Trey Benson, big faller. Adonai Mitchell, big faller. Blake Corum, big faller. Leggett, big faller. Troy Franklin. Who am I missing?
Faller.
Who?
Really big faller.
Brooks. Who else did you say?
Yeah, Jonathan Brooks.
Yep. And that's a sad one. I got a lot of Jonathan Brooks, but that's okay.
That's really it.
All right, guys. So a little bit of a quick episode. Tried to fit it in before playoff football. Today's the first day of Wild Card Weekend, so go Ravens and go Commanders tomorrow night.
Yes, sir, dude. Go fucking Commanders.
Yes, sir. Let's do it. But yeah, we'll be in touch. Marty, I'll talk to you here in a little bit later. And guys, thanks for checking us out. It was fun. It's always fun getting on here and chatting it up. Again, feel free to check us out, subscribe, like the podcast. We will be uploading again soon. We'll be back with probably another trade episode soon. I believe we have some trades to go over. We'll be back with the buy-sell video going into the offseason. And so stay tuned for all of that. So any parting words here, my friend?
No, thank you for all the support and love that we get from those that listen. We appreciate it, and enjoy your playoff weekend, guys.
All right. Thanks again for listening to the Dynasty Dumpster Fire podcast. Peace out.